we have to remember, even though it's a engine, but still, the athlete will be judged based on their sport-specific performance. So when we set enough goals, we have to have both. We need to have a sport-specific goal first, and then what type of biological system we're trying to create to achieve that goal second. So how do we do that? So that's where actual biological approach a lot more efficient. So what I'm going to talk to you now, the logic of selection of physical activities, what systems you are using, block, periodization, new periodization, I don't care. So it all starts with initial preparedness evaluation, right? So just what we talked about. We need to evaluate their functional system, biological component, preferably technical component, biomechanics. If you're working with somebody who has a tool of trade, weightlifter, you have to take the bar in consideration, right? Pole vaulter, javelin thrower, and so on. And then, of course, sport specific. Speed, power, endurance, blah, blah, blah. You have to do all that evaluation. So right there, physiological, biomechanical, psychological profile as well. This is all should be done in this evaluation. It doesn't have to be complicated, honestly. Really, it can be quite simple. So then you compare it to profile of successful athlete, just what we discussed, right? Because without this step, nothing makes sense. Only after that you can create long-term goal. Long-term goal have to have always two goals. The sport specific, let's say I wanna, so my high jumper jumping 210, my plan is to get it to 215. But now I have to have very clear understanding what components I need to improve of his functional system to achieve 215. Maybe I need to increase his velocity on approach, maybe I need to increase his vertical, I don't know. And then the next answer is the most important one, through which mechanism? What biological components of functional system will I have to change to achieve those better physical outputs that will lead to better 215 performance in the high jump, right? It's always chain of thinking. And only when I answer those questions, I can create short-term goal that leads directly to a training session. So let's say this is training session 1. Now, as I apply this training session, I produce physiological changes, right? We can also call it immediate training effect. So if I measure somebody on omega wave, prior workout and post-workout, I will see very big changes. What are they? Well, they're actually these physiological changes, or if I measure blood, so there will be obvious changes. That we can call, of course, immediate training effect. Then we go rest, eat, recover, and we come next day. Now this training effect already changed, right? That's what we call postponed training effect, because the body started adapting. So like we were looking at, let's say, example of hormonal system or sympathetic parasympathetic body. It might be still sympathetic, but a lot less. It might be already switched into parasympathetic. It depends. So this postponed training effect needs to be taken in consideration. That's why next readiness evaluation is key. So at the beginning, we need to create long-term goal. We need to evaluate the preparedness levels. But on a daily management, we just need to evaluate readiness state. So readiness state now leads to concept of windows of trainability. Just if you don't remember, I will very quickly remind you what it is. So windows of trainability is a concept that we developed that states the most important part of training is not what you do, but when you do it. So the same exactly workout today can produce disastrous results, but tomorrow can produce fantastic results. It all will be determined by open or closed biological window. Is your body capable of receiving this load, digesting this load, and forming useful adaptation? Right? If it's not capable, window is closed. So adjust it. It is capable because it's processed the previous load already. It's open. Go ahead. Push. So only by clearly understanding that, then we go into the short-term number 2. So we set up goals for next workout, and we do training session number 2 that will create physiological change 2, immediate training effect, postponed training effect. But here the interesting things will start happening. We'll start seeing cumulative training effect. What is cumulative training effect? Let's discuss. So if we talk from the standpoint of physiology, if before the primary state, let's say in the sympathetic system, 0 point, whatever, 1, now they start stabilizing at higher parasympathetic level. That's a cumulative effect, right? Or if before, if I, let's say, do standing long jump as a test every time I train, which I did, but because it's one of the ways to evaluate neuromuscular system. Just as part of warm-up, we always have some tasks like standing long jump, or it's fun, it's easy, it has no demand on the athlete, but it gives me as a coach very quick neuromuscular state, and I can also monitor their cumulative effect. If most of the time I'm jumping, like, let's say for the first microcycle second, let's say 280, 280, 284 to 75. Now I'm stabilizing at 3 meters, 295, 305. So that's also cumulative effect, right? But it's always how the cumulative effect should be always evaluated from both physical performance and biological cost that you pay for it. Because if you only evaluate performance, that's the old way, where control is primary, you're trying to control training process. That's what everybody else does. We measure, we adjust training. We need to take in consideration athlete. And then we repeat it over and over and over, and that helps us to achieve net cumulative effect. Now, net cumulative effect can be positive or can be negative. It all comes down to one thing, net cumulative effect. Your athlete will be successful based on this parameter, or non-successful. So let's give a definition what successful or non-successful cumulative effect is. So let's assume with that 400 meters, we decided that we need to increase, so we need to run 55 seconds. And to run 55 seconds, we have to increase your, let's say, slow twitch fiber cross-section, increase oxidative capacity of fast twitch fiber, increase cardiac output, and we've done all of that. Is the cumulative effect positive? Because we set up the goals, biological goals, and we create them. Not so fast, because now we have to look at the time, and the time is not happening, and we're like, what, did we do a mistake? Were those adaptations not important? No. Cumulative effect can be evaluated only by multi-factors, because if we achieve all of those adaptations, but we didn't pay any attention to hormonal system, and she overtaxed her hormonal system, and now slowly, we start seeing that decrease in mass of endocrine glands, right? And decrease of presence of anabolic hormones in the bloodstream. I don't care if we created those good adaptations. The net cumulative effect is negative because we solved one problem, but we created another one. The only way you're going to create net cumulative effect when all the parameters of that table are matched.